Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Anoki Uncensored Show. It's been a while since I've been on, and I'm so excited to actually come back, and I'll tell you in a moment why. For those of you who are coming on here for the first time, I'm your host today, Girn, the founder of the umbrella brand Anoki Life. And if you don't know Anoki Life, where have you been for the last 20 years? That's how long we have been around. Go #handle Anoki Life, Anoki Lifestyle. You will find us and all the fabulous things that we do for the regional, national, and international South Asian community. Today, I'm pleased to bring a longtime friend and former Miss Canada, the fabulous Neelam Verma, who I interviewed, I believe, back in 2001. I know she's going to correct me when I bring her on, but let's not bring her on until I've told you a little bit more about who she is. She is actually somebody that's had a larger than you can ever believe life. We're going to talk about a lot of her journey shortly. But the big thing that I want to actually mention to those of you who weren't around when this happened, she actually became a finalist in the top 10 of the Miss Universe competition back in those days. And I want to kind of dive into that a little bit, just to kind of bring all of you guys that weren't around at that time up to speed as to why I think she's a tremendous personality and a wonderful human. She's had quite the larger than life journey, as I mentioned to you guys. Some of that was Bollywood bound. Some of that has also had an international span. She's also done a lot of incredible things from a business perspective, which I really want to dive into. But the reason I'm bringing her on today is because she created Integrity Dating, which recently launched on the Mindvalley platform, no less. She's here today to talk about all of this and so much more. So please welcome the fabulous Neelam Verma to the show. And sweetheart, why has it taken me so long to bring you back? Shame on me.
First of all, Raj, thank you for that amazing introduction. And I don't know why. I've been waiting to connect with you. Oh my gosh, is it 20 years? It's been so long. No, but you know what? It's okay. I'm super excited to be here, and I'm so happy to see you.
Me too, sweetheart. I want to kind of start our conversation more from a chronological perspective of when you and I first met. It was back in 2001, right? I got that right?
Yep, 20 years ago, about 20 years almost. More than 20 years, actually.
Why do you still look the same? Like, what's your secret?
It's all about feeling good inside. It's all about self-love. We'll get to that, but I'll share some of that for sure. But I know even when I see you, I'm like, we have an age. So maybe it's because we're on the same age group and we think we have an age, but.
Well, you're not on my age group, darling. I'm like a decade older than you. But having said that, let's go back. Let's go back in time. You and I met when you became Miss Canada. Can we just bring everybody to speed in regards to kind of what that was? Because this was before, anybody really put Canada on the map or South Asians on the map with these platforms from Canada. That was the unique perspective here, is a South Asian became Miss Canada. Tell me what that felt like going back then and how it kind of changed your life.
Yeah, Raj, I mean, that was such an extraordinary time. And like you said, it was the first time they ever had a South Asian woman represent Canada. So it was quite groundbreaking or trailblazing at that time. We had heard of the Miss Indias, the Aishwarya Rais and the Sushmita Sens, but never did we have a Desi or an ethnic woman represent Canada. So it was such an honor for me to actually have had that opportunity. But Raj, it's funny because when I think back, you met me during that time, and I actually consider myself an accidental beauty queen. And the reason is, I went to business school. I was a marketing professional. I worked for P&G in the Fortune 500 companies. And, somewhere in that journey, I decided there was more to life. Ended up quitting my job and deciding to travel. And I went to Egypt, lived in Egypt for a while, got discovered as a model there, and then was traveling all around the world, Southeast Asia. And when I came back, I wasn't sure what to do at that time. I got an offer from L'Oreal in Paris. And I was like, my mind has been expanded from traveling the world. I'm not ready to go back to the corporate world. And someone had mentioned a pageant. So I ran for the pageant to win a free trip. And that pageant was called Miss India Canada. and I won. And then I was like,
Yes.
all right, this is great. I'm getting ready to go to Bombay for this free trip. And that was why I actually ran for it. And then I got a phone call from Miss Canada, the Miss Canada organization, saying, we heard about you. We've never had a South Asian woman compete. You're 25, you've been to 25 countries on the world. You're a corporate professional. We'd love for you to join. It's happening next month. And I thought it was a joke. So I actually hung up on them. I actually thought one of my friends in the corporate world were joking because we had never come from the pageant world. And so it wasn't a joke. They called me back, and my sister-in-law had actually emailed them, and that's how they found me. And so I thought, you know what? Nothing to gain, nothing to lose. So I went for
Mm-hmm.
it and I won. And that literally snowballed into Miss India, Canada to Miss Universe. 6 months later, I was on a global stage at Miss Universe. It was surreal, really. It was
Mm-hmm.
surreal. And so it was quite an incredible opportunity. And that whole experience changed the course of my life. I became a television presenter. I hosted
Yeah.
Bollywood Boulevard. My first interview was with Shah Rukh Khan for Devdas. And so I just, and, when I think back, you're right, it was larger than life, nothing I ever imagined. So it was quite the adventure.
Absolutely. You know, that journey between being Miss Canada to, being one of the top 10 finalists for Miss Universe, that kind of span of time, obviously you're on a journey to get yourself prepped and ready for the pageant. And I also know another thing about you is that, you truly do believe in the beauty of someone to be inside, outside, intellectual, physical, emotional, kind of a 360 degree. Can we share for all those people out there who, look at these pageants and they can't see past the obvious, which is the physical beauty that is on display? Can you share, because I know that you've been very vocal about this, even when you were going through this journey, truly what this opportunity is all about and why it's actually a really great opportunity for people who are on a career trajectory?
Yeah, first of all, Raj, you're right about mind, body, soul. I believe in inner beauty, mind, body, soul. And when I won Miss Canada, one of the reasons I think I won that and what got me to Miss Universe was I didn't come from the pageant world. And when I showed up on stage, I didn't do what others were trained to do. I actually talked about what it meant to be a woman of substance. I talked about my travels, becoming a diver in the Red Sea, or camping out with Bedouin tribes, and helping women in ashrams in India. And that is why the judges selected me. So it was so refreshing for them, and I just was showing up as myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the journey from Miss Canada to Miss Universe, for me, that was actually a really challenging journey. And I haven't actually shared this with anyone. You're the first person in media around the world that I'm sharing this with.
Oh my God,
So
girls, let's share.
yeah. So that journey from Miss Canada to Miss Universe was so challenging because suddenly I had an entourage of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a trainer to teach me how to talk, how to walk, how to interview, how to, designers, creating a wardrobe. Miss Universe was a 3-week event that was like the Oscars every night. I had like 5 or 6 suitcases going there. I had people coaching me, training. It's actually a humongous deal, especially for countries like India or South America. I mean, this pageant launches humongous careers, like the biggest Bollywood movie stars, the biggest stars on the planet come from
Mm-hmm.
Miss Universe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not taken as lightly as we might have taken it in Canada. So I had this entourage of people, and suddenly I went from being me, very free spirited, showing up, breaking the rules, challenging the norms, to being told, no, you must walk like this, you must talk like this, you must act like this. And it was really challenging. I almost felt like I was being broken down, and the
Mm-hmm.
confidence that I actually showed up in was almost depleted. And it took me a long time. I had to go on this thing I call a journey back to myself to actually come back to myself, Raj.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh my gosh.
to your point, you said why some people can't get beyond the physicality of pageants. Well, in speaking of defensive pageants, for me, when I was Miss Canada, what I felt so honored about was I was getting letters and notes and emails from women across the country, families from across the country, from immigrant families, Filipinos, Chinese, Black, Indian, you name it, saying, wow, we've never had an ethnic woman represent us. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, when I went to Miss Universe, I decided I was going to use it as a platform to showcase that Canada is a multicultural country. So when I actually landed in Puerto Rico, that's where the pageant happened. I remember they greeted me, they're like, Miss Brazil. I'm like, I'm not Miss Brazil. And they're like, Miss India. I'm like, no, close. I'm like, Miss Canada. And the media had a heyday with this because they're like, wow, there's articles. There were articles around the world on Miss Canada is not a blue-eyed blonde. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I made it a point to do, Raj, was before I went, I worked with designers across Canada from all different cultures, Japanese designers, Chinese designers, Caribbean designers, and I got wardrobe from all these different cultures. And every night at Miss Universe, I showed up as a different ethnicity to represent our country.
Wow. And this is going back when, BIPOC representation matters type of hashtags, all of the inclusion type of things that we talk about now. This was way before any of those conversations were being had. This is way before, anybody was actually understanding the importance of inclusivity and representation. You really, truly had a foresight back then, Neelam. Understanding actually what the power of Canada is, which has really been represented very well since then. Like we know that as Canada is very, very inclusive when it comes to understanding who we are as an identity, because we are a milieu of different cultures that reside here. And you really took that seriously, and you presented Canada the way Canada was and is to the big world stage. That it's incredible, and this is the kind of foresight I've seen your journey have over the last 20 years. So let's step back in a little bit on the other side of Miss Universe. The pageant was done. What next for you? Because I know you're really, really smart and strategic, and you understood the platform that you'd been given. What happened next in your career, and why did you go the road that you did?
Yeah, it's interesting. On the outside, it was quite a huge launch pad. I went to Miss Universe and I had the opportunity to go to Bollywood or Hollywood. And I had this affinity for Bollywood. I'm a Punjabi from Toronto. I grew up on Bollywood. So I was like, that's where I'm gonna go. And so I chose to go to India. And
Mm,
I ended up leaving and going to India. I should also say that something happened in between, right when I went to Miss Universe. Right after that, I actually went through a challenging personal situation with
mhm,
I was dating someone at that time. I had a heartbreak. My parents didn't approve of this person, and that really um, pushed me in a direction that I think I may not have gone on. I think I
mhm,
went to India not just to go and become an actress. I actually wanted to run away from the situation that was here.
mhm,
And that changed things for me. So I ended up picking up my bags, going to India, not knowing a single soul, having no family in Bombay, not even knowing where I was going to land up. From the height of my career in Canada, I had a television show here. I was on billboards here. I was on all the magazines, literally at the top of my game. And I just decided to go with nothing and no one. So it was a crazy wild adventure. And when I think back now, I'm like, what was I thinking? But I realized I was
mhm.
kind of running from a personal scenario instead of just going towards that opportunity. So that was the
Mhm.
first thing that happened that a lot of people don't know about my story.
Absolutely. And it's interesting how personal things that happen in our lives can push the kind of envelope on a destiny that perhaps we wouldn't have otherwise even thought about, scoping out or experiencing, but was in fact the reason that you ended up going on the destiny journey that you did. Like it's almost like everything always is on purpose. Even those things that cause us pain or cause us anguish or cause us challenges, somehow it always kind of puts us where we need to be. So let's talk a little bit about that. What was kind of what was the feeling around being in Bollywood as a woman,
Yeah.
and knowing the kind of feminist-esque personality that you have as a Punjabi here in Canada, right? Let's
Yeah.
look at all those dynamics, and what was that whole experience like for you? Because this is pre now, where
Yeah.
now there's a lot of feminism. There's a lot of kind of female empowerment going on. We're going back 20 years. Talk to us a little bit about that.
And at that time, you're right, Raj. It's not like what it was today. We barely had South Asian faces in media in Canada. None of this had been done. This was all quite trailblazing at the time, and a pretty maverick. But you just said something that really touched me, which was, I'm so in alignment with it, which is some of the things that happen in our life, the most painful, the most challenging, the most difficult experiences push us on a totally different trajectory. And when I look back at my life, it was those experiences that actually put me on my destiny path.
Mm-hmm.
I know fully in my heart the reason I left Toronto in the first place to go on that journey around the world, in Egypt, around the world, was because a scenario that I had, a heartbreak that happened. The reason I went to Miss Universe and Miss Canada and all of that happened in that level of speed and ease and grace, it was divine. It wasn't me creating it. It wasn't me having gone through this vision of wanting to be a beauty queen. It happened to me. It was destined. I know for a fact that it was meant to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And even what happened at the day of Miss Universe, when I got to the top 10 and I got off stage, and when I got off stage, I realized my father didn't approve of my partner at that time. And I was heartbroken. And then I left and went to India. That too was destined. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm in India all by myself. I did know one soul, Zeenat Aman, because she is an incredible Bollywood movie star who I was just like in awe of. She was the one who had crowned me at Miss India. So she met up with me and took me to this fashion show. And I remember being front row and center with Zeenat Aman. And then Rekha walks by and Himamali walks by and I don't know, whatever, the next A-list Bollywood. And I remember I was only 25, 26 at that time. And I was playing it cool on the outside, but inside I was like, oh my God, how am I here? In fact, I think I didn't truly grasp how I got there so fast.
Mm-hmm.
When I look back now, I understand now what people say when success comes too fast and you're not ready for it. For me, success came so fast that I think I wasn't truly ready for it. Even though I was a grounded human, I was, I had a lot of life experience at that time, but I didn't have the support system to really, hold
Take full advantage
space
of it. Yeah.
and hold space for me. In fact,
right.
I had the opposite. I was running from a scenario. But when I went there, I did have aspirations to go into Bollywood, and I will tell you that those aspirations were short-lived because I stayed there for a few, 5 to 6 months, and during that time, I experienced what we now call the Me Too movement.
Right.
And I experienced it way back then, and I was shocked because, when you grow up in Toronto and you grow up in Bollywood in a Punjabi house, you think India is, holier than thou, and people have these values because we're watching that in Bollywood films. So here I am in Bombay with one of the top-notch people that manage all the top A-list actresses. I cannot now mention names at this time, the biggest companies, the biggest magazines, whatever. And I recall Raj sitting in front of this person and him saying to me, I was in campaigns, by the way, at that time. I was shooting for campaigns in India, in South Africa. I was doing a lot of, different campaigns and shoots. So I was out there and people knew who I was. So he had a meeting with me and he said, there are directors and producers that want to work with you, but let me just ask you point blank, are you willing to sleep with them?
Mm-hmm.
Just like that. And I remember my whole body froze. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm a respectable girl from a respectful family from Canada, and I don't do that. I'm an educated professional. And he started laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, yeah, that's what they all say.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started mentioning some actresses.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally, my body was frozen and I had fear running through me. And I was defending in defense, like, but what do you mean? I'm an educated girl. And that had such a huge impact on me, again, because I didn't have a community there. I didn't have a support system. I didn't even have friends there. So I didn't really have anyone to be like, don't worry, people say that, we got you. I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know how to navigate that. And I went from that to being in touch with other very high profile people, making slimy remarks or, weird experiences. And the interesting thing is, Raj, I'm a very values-based person.
Mm-hmm.
Like I live with integrity and I stay true to my values. So I would never even go down that path. But I had never had anyone in my life had anyone even ask me such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was interesting because I was from Canada and because I had already graduated from business school, had worked in the corporate world, had traveled. I had a level of identity and I knew who I was. And I could say hell no and walk away. But I
Mm-hmm.
wonder what would happen to those girls that come from Chandigarh or these small villages with nothing, no
Mm-hmm.
money, in Bombay with a dream and these predators preying on them.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it already had affected my self-esteem because I like to win. I like to go for the gold. I was at the top of my game. I was like, I'm going to go there and I'm just going to go to the top. And it was the first time in my life, Raj, I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't achieve based on my merit or my hard work. It was all going to be based on that other stuff. And I said no. So I got the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm. My gosh, babe, when you think about this, I agree with you. Those people that don't have alternatives or choices, like you have, like I have, they really have no choice sometimes, even because they have family to look after. And we've seen this with many of the yesteryears, Bollywood actresses. They were put to work to look after the family. And we're lucky that we're in a position where that's not the case with us. But does it still happen today? Of course it does, right? Because, the powerful always prey on those who are vulnerable. It's a formula, regardless, not just Bollywood, in every industry on the planet. Doesn't have to be something that is in glamorous nature. Every industry still has that power oftentimes plays its game on those who are vulnerable and have no choice. And the fact that you had the courage regardless, because here's the other thing I'm thinking about, Neelam. Here you are, right? Miss Canada, top 10 Miss Universe. You've been written about all over the world, and you are poised to really make it big in Bollywood or somewhere like that. But you made a conscious decision to go with your value system rather than what people would expect you to have stepped into, which is the fame game, right? And that's a very difficult decision to make for a lot of people, right? And I understand that from your perspective that, I had all these other things going for me, but still, you were poised for that position and you made a fundamental decision to be authentic to you. Where did that take you next?
Yes. So I did make that decision, but I will tell you, Raj, it wasn't easy.
No,
I,
of
I
course not.
struggled. I struggled for a long time, for a few years, and I would say I felt almost depressed because I was on this ride. I'm an achiever, and I wanted to go for it. Yet I couldn't because of these other obstacles. And in the world, it looks great because you're famous, but inside, your self-esteem is deteriorating. And I didn't know who to speak to at that time. We didn't have the kind of support systems. I didn't have the kind of, to be honest, there was nobody in my shoes. There was no other person that from Canada who's ever gotten there, gotten that big. There was no one to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
There was nowhere to go. And so I didn't know how to manage that. And
Mm-hmm.
it was instead of me like saying, okay, no worries, let me get out of here and let me go take it to another place. I really felt down for a long time because you
Mm-hmm.
get into that game and it is hard because suddenly you're famous and then you're not. And you're like, hey, what just
Mm-hmm.
happened? So I definitely struggled with that
Mm-hmm.
journey. And it took me a long time. And then finally, when I overcame that and realized like, it's okay, it really wasn't about that. I decided to do things that made sense for me. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do television.
Mm-hmm.
I love media. I already have worked as a TV host. I may not have the opportunity to do Bollywood. I don't know why I didn't go to Hollywood though. To be honest, at that time,
It
I
would
think
have made more sense.
I
Yeah.
know it made a million more. Yeah, it made a lot more sense. But I just my destiny needed to be there. My soul is very connected to India. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, I'm going to be a television anchor. Even at that time, I decided, okay, I'm going to train with CNN. I had the option to do it in New York or New Delhi. I chose India. So I ended up
Oh, you
working
should have gone
for,
to New York, girl.
no, but this is what I'm trying to say. This is my heart and soul is very connected. So
Mm-hmm.
from there, I ended up working with CNN, Discovery Channel, ESPN, hosted some shows in Canada. I started doing lifestyle entertainment news. I even worked in Turkey and Istanbul as an anchor. And I've
Wow.
interviewed people from all walks of life, from Bollywood celebrities to New York Times authors to world renowned athletes like Ronaldinho and to the Dalai Lama. And
That's
so
incredible,
it's been
sweetheart.
pretty awesome. Yeah.
Mm. Folks, this is Neelam Verma, and she is a larger than life personality because she is so authentic to her value system. This brings me to a part of our conversation, which is very, very exciting to me. You are the founder of Integrity Dating. It's interesting that you use that word. I know that's very, very important to you to kind of, step into and help people step into their authentic selves. You said a little bit about the fact that there was this hiatus time for you between realizing that the Bollywood formula is not going to fit in with your value system. And then, what is that other thing that makes sense for you to do, because you're a very purpose-driven soul. That I know about you, that I've known about you since the beginning when we first met. Why did you feel integrity dating was the purpose-filling formula that you needed to go into once you came out of that whole area? I feel it's because you had a transformative experience within self. Talk to me a little bit about that while we kind of step into what this platform is all about.
Yeah. First of all, it just makes me feel like when you speak about it, it just brings such a smile to my face because I didn't intentionally create it, Raj. It was guided by source. So
Yes, of
everything that
course.
happened was guided by source for me. And for those who are listening, if they understand what I'm speaking in this language, when I look back at my life, I have absolute clarity right now that the purpose of my life is love. And everything that happened from going to Miss Universe to the heartbreak I had that led me to India to coming back to not getting to there to like all the things that happened, the theme of my life has been love and heartbreak. And
Mm.
if you're a believer that we write our stories before we are incarnated, which I do feel, the story that I wrote for myself is one of love. And excuse me, I think what's really interesting is that I was working as a television anchor and I was in Istanbul and it was several years ago. And what happened at that time, I would have never thought I had what I would call a near death experience. And that changed
Mm.
the trajectory of my life. So it was
Tell us
right
a
before
little bit about that. Yeah.
it was right before my 40th birthday. And it was a tumultuous time in Turkey. There's 3 bomb attacks there. And I was like, hey, I want to spend my birthday. I'm going to go to Mumbai. And so I booked a last minute flight to Mumbai. And on that flight, I actually thought it was going to be the last day of my life. The lights started flickering on that plane. The plane started shaking. The sound went berserk. When I was walking to the bathroom on that plane, I actually fell. And there
Oh
was
my
something
gosh.
in me, Raj, that was like, oh
Mm.
my God, this plane is going down. And I was holding on my seat and I was like, oh my God, this plane is seriously going down. And something surreal happened to me in that moment. I started sending white light around the plane, and I had never done energy work or anything like that, Raj. That was my first instinct. And the next thing that happened was for about maybe 4 or 5 minutes, I had this laser sharp, linear thinking. And the thought came, oh my God, if I die and my body is, in Iran, my father is not going to know where I am because I didn't send anyone my itinerary. So I pulled up my phone and I sent my itinerary. I'm like, maybe Wi-Fi will kick in and somebody can find my body.
Oh my gosh.
And then I wrote my will. And I have never written a will. My bank account numbers literally came to me. So in my phone, I started writing all these numbers. And then, Raj, I wrote a goodbye note. And it was a short note. And I held my hand to my phone. I thought, okay, if this plane goes down, I'm going to press send. Maybe Wi-Fi will kick in. I didn't even know I was thinking like that. It was very a different realm of thinking. A minute goes by, 2 minutes go by, 3 minutes go by, the plane doesn't crash. So I don't press send. And finally, the plane lands. And I was so grateful to be alive because for me, it was a very real experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized when I landed that the universe had given me a huge wake up call.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right before my 40th birthday, gives me this wake up call because what I had written at the end of my life in that goodbye note, Raj,
Mm.
was not actually how I was living my life.
Mm.
At the end of my life, in that little note, all I cared about was love and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
My parents, my siblings, the men I had loved. But the way I was actually operating my life for the last decade was actually running from love, chasing fame, chasing success,
Mm-hmm.
traveling, all the stuff that actually in the end of my life, I didn't even care. It didn't even make an honorable mention in my note.
Wow.
I had this huge awakening in that moment. My heart chakra literally like opened wide like this, Raj. And in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
I realized that the purpose of my life is love. And I made a decision. I made a commitment to myself to live a life of love, to be surrounded with people I love, and to do work I love. And that changed the game because I went to Mumbai. I was in a relationship with someone that was on and off at that time. He didn't know what hit him. It was like a love bomb because I was like, ah. And I made the decision at that point to quit my job as a high profile anchor in Turkey to go be with this person in Mumbai. And I realized shortly after that that my partner was out of integrity with me,
Mm.
which is a
Mm-hmm.
kind way of saying he was being dishonest.
Yeah.
And I was devastated because I had this huge awakening. I had this absolute clarity about what life was about. I left so many big opportunities and I went there for love.
Mm.
And I was just heartbroken that that could happen. But that heartbreak was such an interesting experience because that put me on a path, a very deep spiritual journey, which I actually call a journey back to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So for the next few years, I spent learning from leading minds on the planet, from monks in Bhutan who had meditated in caves for 6 years, to ayahuasca,
Mm-hmm.
to Vipassana, to meditation with Joe Dispenza, to learning from Esther Perel, like just learning from incredible minds on the planet and really throwing myself deep, not only into personal growth, but to understand is what is love? What are
Mm-hmm.
relationships? And it was during that time, in that seeking period, that I realized it wasn't just my partner that was out of integrity with me. I was out of integrity with me.
Mm. Oh, that's the big one.
I realized that I was not honoring myself. I did not honor my time and energy in that relationship. I was not expressing my truth. I had put my life on the back burner for someone else's, and I fundamentally was not loving myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that point I got completely back into alignment and everything transformed for me.
Mm-hmm. How did integrity dating come from that place that you were at?
So after I got back into integrity with myself and I was ready and I was healed because that was a very long relationship, I came back to Toronto and I do what people do. I picked up a phone and I downloaded an app and I started swiping. And I was like, what is this? Because I had gone through a huge transformational journey. I believe in consciousness. My consciousness was elevated. I was seeking a conscious partnership. And the way people were showing up were with unhealed parts of themselves. They were showing up unintentional. They didn't know what
Mm-hmm.
they wanted. They were ghosting. I didn't even know if they could communicate with me because I was showing up saying, here are my core values. I'm seeking a union of love and expressing my truth. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized in that time that we were ready as a human race for a new approach to dating, and integrity dating was born. So everything that I had learned through my own growth journey, I put it together in a course, and I started speaking about it, and it started just spreading. And I made a decision to create a global movement in conscious dating to help millions of people step into love first within themselves and then
Mm-hmm.
with others. And this is what integrity dating is. Integrity dating is an inside out approach to love, Raj, where you
Mm-hmm.
learn to date from a place of alignment and get integrity with you first, and then date someone else. Because the truth is, every relationship in your life reflects the relationship that you have with yourself.
Absolutely. It's a mirror.
Yeah. And until you get that set, none of your relationships are going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how integrity dating was born.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about integrity dating for everyone out there that's tuning in. How is this a different platform than other dating platforms? Obvious question.
There is absolutely no platform like this that exists, because this is not based on seeing what people needed or who's out there and who's competing. This was really truly guided by source and my journey in life. And when I started speaking it and living integrity dating and talking about it, and people are like, wow, teach me that, show me
Mm-hmm.
that, how is that? And I created it. I realized that nobody was really teaching us how to love on these apps. You go to Tinder, you go to Bumble, yeah,
Oh.
you're swiping, but you're not really learning. So you're not really creating
Mm-hmm.
meaningful connections or relationships that last. And I realized, I asked myself the question, like, where did I learn how to love? I know where I did, Raj, but let me ask you, where did you learn how to love?
By loving myself, sweetheart, to be very honest. First, it's the expected version of what love is from our upbringing, from our culture, which is very, very different from the version that you see in mainstream society. So it's almost like like a dichotomy, that's fighting with each other. And I found that I didn't really connect with either, to be very
Mm.
honest, and it created a lot of confusion for me. And it put me in a place of toxic love, as opposed, because I didn't really feel either, but I was doing the motions and the actions, which is what we do as humans, right? We see the propaganda around love, and we put ourselves into those positions because we feel that that's how we will receive love, is that version of it, right? But it wasn't until I realized that I actually don't want those types of relationships. I don't want toxic love. I'm okay not having love, that I actually started to spend more time with me and the things that mattered to me, understood what my value system was, because I was given a value system. I wasn't taught
Mm.
how to create one.
Yes.
So
And
it
that
all
that
came
yes.
from that for me, please. Yeah.
And that's beautiful what you just said, because exactly what you just said is, for me, if you're like me, Raj, the
Mm.
places I learned to love was my parents, my well-meaning parents, immigrants from India. They had 4 kids struggling to build a new life in Canada. God bless them. They had the best intentions, but they didn't really have the time to teach me how to love.
Right.
So then I turned to media,
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood or Bollywood. Hollywood overly sexualized, Bollywood overly sensationalized fantasy, and then not really a realistic, perspective of relationships and dating. So where I really learned to love, Raj, was through heartbreak and healing.
Mm.
Heartbreak and healing are the greatest teachers of all.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually like to say that I have a bachelor's in heartbreak, a master's in relationships, and a PhD in healing from the School of Life.
Amen, sister. I love that.
Amen. Because that is where I learned, and that is where actually most of us learn. And
Mm-hmm.
that is why I created, let's do a course first. Let's get ourselves into alignment. And then let me create events where I'm bringing people that are in alignment to meet
Yeah.
like-minded souls. That's what makes integrity dating different. It's an inside-out approach to love. It's a values-based approach where you're intentional,
Mm-hmm.
authentic, and transparent right from the start. And the whole thing, I know you want to ask a question, but I got to say
Mm-hmm.
this, the whole thing is based on 7 pillars.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask. What should people expect when they walk into the world of integrity dating?
Yeah, you're going to learn 7 pillars, which are the foundation of an extraordinary relationship with yourself. And that's self-love, integrity, authenticity, communication, vulnerability, energy, and surrender.
Mm.
And you move through these pillars, you build that solid foundation, you discover yourself, you transform yourself, you become yourself, and then you start dating from this place of alignment. Because what happens when you date from this place with another person who's also in alignment? You have a conscious, beautiful relationship. And that is what we want to do. And not all relationships last. They're there for some are for seasons of growth, but they're beautiful. They're not
Mm-hmm.
toxic, And so that is the whole journey of integrity dating. And it's been so incredible, Raj, because since I stepped into this, I've had
Mindvalley. Mindvalley. Come on.
that's just one,
Take us there. Yeah.
That's just one,
Mm-hmm.
Mindvalley heard about me. They invited me on, Vishen Lakhiani invited me on his global podcast. I launched a course,
Wow.
and next thing you know, I have students from around the world. I mean, I have clients from Morocco to LA to India to Africa to Switzerland to France to London. So integrity dating, the course helps women and men around the world. And Raj, the best part is I
Mm-hmm.
get I get all of these incredible success stories. Just yesterday, I got one from a student from 2 years ago. And she said to me, I hope you remember me. She goes, I found my soulmate, and it was because of your course. I got another message
Wow.
from someone who took my course last year, and he said that he's engaged, he's getting married. I did a dating event in Europe this summer, and then somebody came to my dating event. He met someone there, and he said this just blew his mind away. And he's from Israel. So it's just the work that I'm doing is I'm serving the world and helping people step into love. And I don't think there is anything on this planet
Mm-hmm.
that is more meaningful to me to do than
How can people tap into this, sweetheart? Like,
this.
where are we sending them?
Yeah, for sure. So my website is www.integrity.dating. And if you go there, you can
Dot
sign
com?
up. Nope, there's no .com. So it's integrity.dating. We will have that as well, but you can just go integrity.dating. You
Okay.
can go there, you can sign up, and I will send you invites to our conscious dating events. I will send you our free masterclass, and you can also get details about our upcoming courses. And I just wanted to share one more thing. So recently I was in Europe speaking. You mentioned Mindvalley. So that's a partnership I have. I also got invited to another huge global podcast in India with a huge celebrity there. So there's a lot of people around the world that really resonate with my message, which I love
Mm-hmm.
because I want to put this out in the world right now. And I'm talking to you, Raj.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody out there who resonates with my mission and who feels aligned to integrity dating that wants to help me spread this message around the world, get in touch with me because
Mm-hmm.
I want to be on Oprah. I want to talk to the big wigs. I want Jay Shetty. I want all these guys to talk about this because to me, I'm creating a global movement. I want to help 1 billion people step into love. So I want to put it out there. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to fundamentally, as humans, change the way we are approaching dating instead of feeling like options and swiping based on the way we look and treating each other unconsciously. We need to be compassionate and treat people with integrity and respect and love. And that
Mm-hmm.
comes from fundamentally honoring and loving ourselves first. So this summer, I had the option of actually speaking on a global stage, and you talk about Mindvalley. So I will also have a mini course on their platform, but you can also join my course on my platform. So there's a lot of exciting action coming up. So it's been amazing and a
Oh my
blessing.
gosh. So let's kind of back up a little bit so that we can send people where they need to go. So first of all, there's your course, which is www.integrity.dating. That's it,
You
right?
you got
That's
it.
the
You got
course.
it. Yes.
Okay. If people want to go hang out with you, where are we sending them?
Well, they can go to my website, and if they need to connect with me, you can always connect with me there. If they want to hang out with me, well, you can. It depends, Raj. If you want to invite me to speak, just connect with me via my website. I generally don't hang out. I'm always working.
Yeah, absolutely.
you
So
know.
what if they want to hang out with you on social? Give everyone your
Oh,
handles.
there we go. Come
Yeah.
hang out with me on Instagram at Neelam Verma Official. I'm there. You can join my private Facebook group, Integrity Dating on Facebook as well. We have a private Facebook community there. I'm active on social media at Neelam Verma Official. And of course, the website. If you go to my website, you're going to get all the podcasts, you're going to get the course. You can connect with me there as well. So
Oh my God, I love everything about this. Neelam, you know that I absolutely adore you. I love people who are on the harder journey, which is the journey to find purpose within themselves so that they can understand why they came in this lifetime. And the whole purpose of life is to, is to fulfill that and then elevate beyond it. This is the purpose of, the soul's existence in these limiting bodies that we're in, right? Is to be challenged to then break beyond that challenge, to be able to create the liberation, which is what creates empowerment, right? And it brings us back to source, right? I want for those people out there who are, oh my God, I'm tired of dating. The energy around it is exhausting for me. I never really find the right person. What would you say to them? Let's help reset them so that they can propel forward. What would you say to them?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to say, with Integrity Day, not only do we have a course, we actually have events now. We do them online, but we're doing them live. We've done a couple in Europe this summer, which were amazing. And I like to call them, they're called integrity dating events, but I like to call them conscious dating events.
So where do we send people for those?
Everything is on my website.
Okay.
If you sign up on my website, I will be sending you updates on the next event, our master classes, our courses. So you can get all of that just by going to the sign up, and then I'll send all that stuff to you. But I just want to say to all those people that are feeling disheartened, you're not alone. There's a lot of people, millions of people are feeling disheartened with the dating scene. And it's understandable because not only are we not getting what we want with the current, the scene, but the world has changed. The pandemic not only changed how we date, Raj, it changed why we date. There has been a huge shift. Dating trends have shown a huge shift away from casual encounters to more meaningful connections. Human connections and relationships are at the forefront of our new world. People want real relationships. For all those people out there who are looking for that, let me just tell you, they exist. They're incredible humans out there. I know because I work with them. I have this amazing community of people that are all seeking each other. So they're awesome people. It's all about finding people that you're in alignment with. So if you're having a disheartening experience, it's because you're on the wrong platform. You're not with the right community. And also, have you done the work within yourself to get in alignment to become the person that you need to be to attract that? Because once you do that, you will not be on those platforms. You will not be in those circles. You will be attracting like-minded partners. And the ones that aren't in alignment to you, that don't share your values and vision, you release them very quickly. In fact, Raj, one thing I teach is you can know someone more in 3 dates than 3 months through conscious communication. And these are the kind of tools you want to use where you can literally know very quickly whether someone's right for you or not.
Oh my God, I love everything about this. Neelam, what a pleasure to have you on, just to kind of, go back in time and just see the milestones of what your timeline has looked like. What do you want to, leave everyone with in terms of anyone that's sitting on the fence that, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. What would you like to say to the fencers?
For those people that are just listening to this and sitting on the fence, I just want to share that, the greatest love that you'll ever have in your life, the greatest love affair that you'll ever have in your life is with yourself. You are the greatest love of your life. And my purpose in sharing my message, whether you come and join Integrity Dating or not, doesn't matter. For me, my purpose is to help you step into love and to realize that you are it. And so often we seek for it outside of ourselves. It's not about seeking the one, it's about becoming the one, Raj.
What a perfect way to end this conversation, Neelam. Thank you so, so much for, coming on and helping lift the vibration to helping people understand why love starts with self and why everyone deserves the best love affair with themselves and then with others. Bravo. I'm so excited to see where your journey will go with this. I know that because it's It's so service driven, and it's so important for you to help people step into conscious love, that I know that this is going to be something that is going to blow up really, really huge, because everybody deserves the best for themselves and for others. So thank you so, so much for coming on, sweetheart. I can't wait for the next time that we chat, when something else, kind of develops in your timeline. Come back and chat with me. I'd love to have you back on.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Raj, for sharing my mission with the world. And I love you. And I'm so grateful for the work that you do.
Thank you, my darling. Can't wait.